Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Deals podcast with Gabrielle Simmons. Today I am here with Phil with Professional Environmental Consultants. I had to look at your shirt as I'm reading it because it's so long.
It is a long name, yes.
It's important that we understand the full reason why for the long name. In just a second, we'll have you tell us more about yourself. I do want to quickly mention our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Builders Outlet. Builders Outlet is your go-to for windows, cabinets, doors, and trim. You can find them by going to buildersoutletco.com. Okay. Phil.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I know it was quite a drive to get you over this way too.
That's okay. I've had much worse commutes than this. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. And you travel all over the country.
I do. I was just in Louisiana, New Orleans a couple weeks ago, traveling all over the South. I was in Southern California before that. So yeah, we bounce all over the place.
Yeah, you're used to it.
Yeah.
So tell us about you and what you do within Professional Environmental Consultants. Your company.
Yeah. We like to abbreviate it
PEC.
PEC.
PEC. Oh,
yeah,
perfect.
That's easy. But yeah, so Professional Environmental Consultants, we are a full-service environmental consulting firm. We pretty much address all elements of the environmental consulting spectrum, but specifically for deal makers, we are involved in commercial property transactions.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial property transactions, there's a lot of money to be made. That's why we all are involved in it, right?
Right.
I think the number I read yesterday was there was $757 billion in commercial property transactions in 2024 in the U.S.
Wow.
So there's money to be made,
Yeah.
right? And most of your investors are probably pretty savvy in terms of all the different variables that go into making a commercial real estate investment successful, right, and profitable. We tend to help in areas where people are less savvy.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe new to the commercial acquisitions and
exactly
don't understand the full spectrum of what all we need to even be looking for.
Exactly. Not a lot of people just don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Right. But also we get involved in more complex deals where, you find yourself in a situation where there's an environmental situation and you need to find the best way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we do that as well. We help people once they find themselves in a situation, extricate themselves if possible, or at the very least, spend the least amount of money to get them out of that situation as possible.
And what might that look like? Environmental concern that could result in them needing to get out of this situation. Give us an example of what that could look like.
So actually, I have a couple of them. I've got an example where things went right, and I've got an example where things went wrong.
Yeah.
So let's start with an example of where things went wrong. I have a client that was referred to me by another client that he had an opportunity to buy a piece of real estate in downtown Los Angeles. Very cheap, basically at a tax lien sale. And it was an abandoned restaurant. Great location, downtown Los Angeles, right next to USC. So looked like a phenomenal opportunity.
Right.
So they leveraged money to buy this property out of the auction, thinking it was a slam dunk. It was easy. What they didn't know was it used to be a gas station, and the tanks were still in place. There was contamination in place.
Oh,
so
and since they bought it from auction, they didn't have an opportunity to come in and do an inspection.
Environmental, exactly.
Right.
But had they called us before they bought it, I can do a lot of things, basically from the desktop. I don't necessarily have to go on site. And now with all the technologies that we have, like Google Earth and ArcGIS and all the aerial photography, a lot of times I don't even have to step foot on site. I can look at all that from a distance.
Wow. Yeah.
And we operate nationally. So I've looked at properties in Los Angeles, in Georgia, in New York.
Yeah.
We can do all that. And then once the time comes to actually put boots on the ground, we can do that as well. But had they called us ahead of time, give me a couple of days, I can do a lot of research. And I could have told him, this is what you've got. So
Right.
he was in a situation where he bought the property at a great price.
Mm-hmm.
And he was hoping to do a quick flip, make some money and move on. But now he's got, anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 in liabilities that he has to deal with.
Yeah.
And it has the potential to either just wipe out any gains that he made, any profits, but it also could put him in the red,
Right.
go further and cost them money.
Right.
So that's one of the ones. And again, from the outside looking in, driving by, oh, it's an abandoned restaurant. What possibly could be wrong?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. They look at it, they think they know what's going on. So on another one that went right, I had a client just call me. This was 2 weeks ago. He called me and said, look, I have a situation. I'm in a 1031 exchange and my deadline is October 14th.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't get into a property by October 14th, that's going to cost me about $250,000 in tax liability.
Right.
He said, we've tried 2 other properties and for various reasons, those fell through. This is my last opportunity and I have to have this done by October 14th.
Mm.
He said, it's really simple. It's a 7-Eleven also in Southern California.
Mm.
Before it was a 7-Eleven, we know it was a hamburger stand back into the 70s. This is going to be real easy. It's going to be real simple, but we've had enough of these projects. I just want you to take a look at it.
Right.
So within a week, I was able to take a quick look at it, relatively low cost, and figure out, oh no, this was a gas station,
Mm-hmm.
right? This was from the 50s to the 70s. It was a gas station, and we don't know if the tanks were removed. We don't know if they did remove them, if they had done any sampling to find out if there was contamination there.
Mm.
And so, but the difference on this one is because we knew what his timeline was, he got us involved early enough. What we were able to do was figure out what his potential liabilities were versus the cost of not getting this done by the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to figure out his worst case scenario was he breaks even on the property.
Oh.
His best case scenario is he makes a couple $100,000.
Oh.
And that's not even including, if he holds on to it for 10 years and just, lets it accrue,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But because he got us involved early,
Yeah.
what we do is we reduce uncertainty. Because, any commercial transaction is going to have some level of uncertainty, and that uncertainty can kill a deal, right? I don't know is a dangerous thing to say in a commercial transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So what we try to do is we eliminate those or reduce those uncertainties so that you can make the best informed decision to protect your investment as possible.
Yes.
Right.
That's amazing. Yep.
Yeah. So that's basically what we do. And like I say, we do it on a large scale across the country. We're currently evaluating 50 properties for a merger acquisition deal.
Wow.
All over the country. So one company's buying another company, and they've got 50 trucking facilities all over the country.
Oh.
And so we're doing those desktop reviews now to figure out what they're getting themselves into and make sure there's no problems. And I think that's a $150 million deal. So,
Nice. Do they want some more trucks? I'll sell them mine.
don't know. I'm not involved, but I'll keep an eye on it. So yeah, that's what we do nationwide.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's not just all you guys do, right? So you've also shared with me how one of the other services you do, in addition to the 3D mapping and all that, which is super cool. I definitely want us to get into that.
Yeah.
But just looking at businesses as a whole, right? Like you guys do that when it comes to looking at a merger and acquisition.
Correct.
You can go in and analyze details, give us the buyer a better picture of what liabilities might be involved before we go and purchase another business operation,
right?
Not just the property itself.
Exactly. So there's the property itself, and we can do that analysis and make sure that you're not buying a contaminated property,
right?
Because unfortunately, the way the laws are written, if you buy a contaminated property, you've bought the contamination and the liability that goes along with it.
Right.
With some exceptions, and we can help you find those exceptions. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as you were alluding to, if you've got one company buying another company, right? What you want to know is, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing now? Mm-hmm. So that you don't have outstanding liabilities. So, and we do that both on an environmental and a health and safety level. So what ends up happening is we do what's called a material compliance review. Mm-hmm. And it's not a full environmental audit or a health and safety audit, because that would take too long and it's too expensive. Mm. What we do is we go in and we do a high level review. Do they have the programs they're supposed to have in place? And are they at least at a high level using them appropriately?
Right.
So for instance, if you, we'll take a trucking facility, right? You know trucking facilities, right? So if you've got a trucking facility and let's say they have, a 5,000 gallon diesel tank on site for fueling trucks, right? The question is, are they in compliance with all their environmental regulations, right?
Right.
Because if they're not, you may find yourself when you take over this business of, having to spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, coming into compliance, making sure that all the proper paperwork is being submitted, that you're doing all your inspections and, all those things that go along with having that tank on site.
Right.
Right. We go in and we look at it, and what we'll do is we'll sit down with you ahead of time and say, okay, how granular do you want to get? And usually they'll set a materiality threshold, meaning if it's under $5,000, yeah, we've got to deal with it. But,
Right.
on a $150 million transaction,
Not
we don't
priority.
Right.
Yeah.
But anything that's, $10 or $20 or $25,000 to fix, that's what we want to know about so that we know if we have to make capital improvements. Or more importantly, a lot of times what it does is it helps in the negotiation of the sale. Because if you've got $250,000, $300,000 worth of items that need to be addressed before you move forward, you can build that into the deal, reduce the price of the purchase price,
Yeah.
and work that out.
Yeah.
The other thing we can do is when we do these material compliance reviews is we will create a roadmap for you because some things may need to be handled right now. Right. So those are usually things that have an immediate danger to your employees or the public, or, something that regulators are already looking at and could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines and stuff like that. We would put that as a high priority and something you need to take care of in 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
But other things don't need to be handled for 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 years. So what we'll do is at the end of that material compliance review, we'll build you a roadmap and say, okay, these are the high priority things that need to be done in the next 3 to 6 months.
Right.
These are the medium priority that need to be dealt with in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And then these are the low priority things that maybe take 5 years. That way you can build your capital expenditure map between now and the next 5 years. So that's another thing that we do.
Extremely helpful. It's so helpful.
Really, again, what we try to do is remove the uncertainty, right? Because a lot of people don't understand what the environmental, most of the folks investing in commercial real estate or commercial businesses, they don't understand what those businesses do. They're not supposed to, right?
Looking at the numbers.
They're looking at the numbers. That's exactly right.
Right.
And if there's uncertainty, that will either kill the deal or slow down the deal. If we can come in ahead of time and eliminate or reduce that uncertainty and start putting some numbers around it, then you can make intelligent, informed decisions about the money you're about to invest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've seen that so many times where people don't take that step and then end up upside down on a transaction that's just no good.
Right. Yeah. And that could be a nightmare.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I definitely am going to be utilizing your services as we get more. I'm actually just today submitted my final offer on a commercial building in Colorado Springs.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of many that I intend to purchase in the near future. So we'll be having more talks.
And what you should do is just shoot me an address, tell me what's going on, even before you get the offer submitted and accepted, because one of the things that PEC offers to our clients is we will do a free initial review.
Oh.
There's a lot of stuff, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I can do from my desk between checking regulatory databases, historical aerial photography.
Oh.
You've got a lot of stuff that I can do, and I offer, basically up to 4 hours, I will go in and look at your deal. And if I see any red flags, I'll let you know.
Wow.
Ahead of time and say, hey, you know what? This used to be a gas station. So my client that I was telling you about that is in this 1031 exchange, it didn't take me 4 hours to know this was probably a gas station. I didn't know for a fact, right? But I knew it was a potential, which allowed him to get ahead of it, right? And so he ended up going back to the seller and saying, this is what we have to address. And the seller said, no problem, we'll take it on. And they went out and did all the environmental assessments.
Oh, great.
And now all I'm doing for my client is I'll double check that work. I'll go back and look at it ahead of time. And then right now what they've decided, because we've identified this liability or potential liability, what they're going to do is do an escrow holdback.
Oh, okay.
So he can get his deal done by the 14th. So his 1031 exchange is correct.
Right.
Right. And he doesn't, but he's got more time now with that escrow holdback. They're basically holding $250,000 in escrow for us to go do all of that.
Wow.
And anything we don't spend goes back to the seller.
Yeah.
And anything that we do need to spend is available for them.
Oh, that's great.
So by getting us involved as early as possible, it gives you more options.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't want to kill any deals. Right. That's not what we're in. And, people a lot of times are very afraid of the environmental consultants. It's a bad word. The environmental guys. But because usually we're a cost center, right? We don't make money, we cost money. Right. But my job is to make sure that you understand we can, even if we don't make money, which a lot of times we can help you make money. In transactions, we can help you reduce cost and different things to make you money.
Right.
But a lot of times it's a matter of keeping you out of trouble and saving you money on the back end.
Right.
Same reason why you buy insurance, right? You hope you never need it,
Yeah.
but it's there if you do, right? That's really what we do.
And worth the cost.
And hopefully help you structure your deal appropriately so that you limit your liabilities and maximize the profit on your project, right?
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Now tell us, I super nerd out over the whole 3D mapping and it's a little more fun side, I guess, of your business, what you guys do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So we have partnered, we do a lot with network partnering, where we bring in expertise. One thing that I'm very good at is knowing what I don't know. Okay. I try really hard not to overextend myself. So what I will do is then partner with other people that are experts in their field. So one of the things that we do, as you said, was the 3D modeling and fate and transport modeling. So we had a project up in Sacramento, California, and it was a fuel terminal. It had been a fuel terminal for a major oil company for over 100 years. And for those of your listeners that don't know what a fuel terminal is, it's, if you see the big tanker trucks fueling up gas stations, this is where those tanker trucks go to fuel up, right? So it was right on the banks of the Sacramento River. Literally, I mean, if you jump the fence, you're in the river, right? Which is a big concern because if contamination gets into the river, nobody likes that, right?
Yeah.
So we were actually involved in tearing down the terminal. So the property owner, this major oil company, was selling it to the city. And the city wants to turn the entire bank of the Sacramento River into just a riverfront. Right? So right now it's all industry, and it has been for the last 150 years. They want to convert that over to mixed use, riverfront, townhouses, condos, that kind of stuff.
Sounds like there may be a lot of potential cleanup involved in that.
There is a lot of potential cleanup in that.
Okay.
And this is one of the first properties that they tackled. So originally, before we got involved, the major oil company had their own consultants involved, and they estimated that the assessment and cleanup of this property was going to be about $10 million. There was a lot of diesel contamination under the surface. So we came in working for kind of an intermediary that was between the oil company and the city. And they had done what's called a guaranteed cost of closure. They said, I guarantee we can clean this up. We can assess it and clean it up for this dollar amount. Okay. And so we came in to assist them with that assessment and remediation. And what we were able to do we went in, we drilled a lot of holes, right? We spent close to $250,000 on the assessment part, right? But because we front loaded that assessment, we were able to use new technology with 3D modeling, 3D mapping, and what's called fate and transport modeling to give them a virtual representation of what the subsurface looked like,
Right.
where the contamination was, and how it was going to move in the future.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we were able to prove scientifically that this contamination was never going to go anywhere.
Oh,
It was never going to make it into the river, at least in the next 200 years,
yeah.
and that it would essentially take care of itself in the next 50 to 100 years.
Wow.
So a lot of contamination when it's in the ground, the earth is very good at cleaning itself up,
Hmm.
right? It's self-cleaning, assuming you stop contributing to the problem
Mm-hmm.
and give it time to do that,
Mhm.
right? So we took their $10 million estimate for assessment and remediation, and we got it done for less than $2 million.
Wow.
Um,
That's huge.
so that saves my client, who was the one that said, hey, we guarantee we can get this done for under $10 million.
Right.
They now got it done
Save
for
them
$2 million.
Yeah.
They just made $8 million.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why one of the things that PEC does is we leverage the technology that's available.
Yeah.
And we do so not relying on our own knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but by going out into the industry and finding the people that are really, really good at what they do and bringing them into the project. I don't have a lot of ego where it comes to that. I don't have a problem saying I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I always follow that up with, I may not know, but I can find out. And I know the people that are in the industry. So I've been doing
Yeah.
this for 25 years. I've worked for mom and pop consultants. I've worked for major multinational consulting firms. And that's given me a very broad network to be able to reach out and pull in the expertise that I need.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say, bring me some help.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's necessary. Like, I can't imagine somebody running a kind of company like you do and trying to do it all by themselves. It sounds like you really need
Exactly.
different experts.
When you get into large companies like AECOM and URS, these really big environmental consulting firms that can do multidisciplinary stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they can usually do everything in-house,
Mhm.
right? The downside to them is they're expensive and they're slow.
Oh,
Right? Once you get that bureaucracy going, they can't maneuver. So if you go to them and say, I need this done in the next 30 days, they're going to go, yeah, sorry, can't help you, right? Or they're going to say, yeah, we can do it, but it's going to cost you 4 times as much.
right.
Whereas if you come to a company like mine, where I can say, you know what, I can't do it, but I know this guy can, I will bring him in.
Right.
We run everything through PEC and I project manage it so you don't have to worry about it. And I bring all that expertise to bear. That makes us faster. It makes us, more competitive. We can get the cost down. In fact, we are so good at that half of our business comes from other environmental consulting firms. So
They're calling y'all to
they
handle
call us to, exactly. When they don't have the capacity or the capability, they call us and they bring it in. So I mentioned this project that we're doing for 50 sites across the country. I'm doing that for another consulting firm,
Oh,
right? They have the contact, they have the client,
right.
but they couldn't get it done in the time frame that this client needed to get it done.
Right.
So we move faster, we move cheaper,
Yeah.
So normally this company that I'm working for, because they're so big and they have so much overhead, they can't do an investigation for a single site for less than $5,000 and break even, right? Whereas the industry standard is to do this for about $3,000 per site. We have the network available that we can do the majority of the work for $2,200, $2,300, $2,400,
Wow.
make a profit on that site, but we give it to them. They mark it up 20%.
Right.
Now they're suddenly making a 20% profit, meeting their clients' needs
Yeah.
and being competitive all at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we do. And we do it, like you say, on the wholesale side for other consulting firms, but we also do it directly for investors and people, property owners and that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of working together,
That's exactly right.
coming together to solve a problem.
Yep. And thanks to COVID, we've discovered we don't have to have an office.
Yeah.
So like PEC does not have a traditional office anywhere. I have, 12 to 15 people all over the country in Canada and Mexico that they all work from their homes, so I eliminate that overhead, right?
Yeah.
I don't have, a ton of overhead where, that allows us to be more cost effective and we pass those savings on to you guys,
Yeah. Yeah. And lucky us, we have you right here in our backyard.
That's right. And now we're expanding more into Colorado. I just recently moved to Colorado.
Yeah.
So the company I used to work for, they actually have 2 offices in Colorado. So while I was running their Southern California operation, Southern California, Nevada, Arizona, I didn't have to do anything in Colorado because we had 2 offices. So we're expanding into Colorado, doing more work in Colorado. But again, because I have those network connections, I can still do anything I need to do anywhere in Colorado because I know who to call.
Yeah.
I could pick up the phone and they're available to me 24/7.
Right. What made you move to Colorado?
Mostly I wanted to get out of Southern California, and my wife and I looked all over the country. We looked at Tennessee and North Carolina and Idaho and Arizona and Oregon. We looked all over the place. And what we found in Colorado was it was kind of the perfect balance, right? It was business friendly, which anybody that's done business in Southern California or California in general knows they're not particularly business friendly.
Oh,
And so that was a big piece for us. But we also didn't want to be in the city. So we're in Cripple Creek out,
Yeah.
out in the middle of nowhere,
in the mountains.
out in the mountains.
Beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And so what we found here specifically in Southern Colorado is we found that balance of we could run our business. We have access to an airport, to multiple airports, which allows me to go where I need to go, throughout the country. And, there's still a lot of work going on here, but we absolutely love Colorado. We love being, in the mountains. I have 4 neighbors within a 1/4 mile radius, which I absolutely love. We don't hear sirens and helicopters and, that kind of stuff that we dealt with every day in California.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and again, we're in a business friendly environment where we can do what we need to do and react to our clients as fast as possible without having to worry about, all the regulations that come along with being in a place like California. So that's how we ended up here. And we had friends that lived in the Springs, and we came up and spent some time up here and went, yeah, okay, this is really what we want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys made your way over here.
oh, we are so happy.
And so you mentioned, like, before starting your company, working for big national companies, mom and pops. What did you do before that? What got you into this line of work?
I got dragged into this line of work kicking and screaming. So I used to run call centers. So I'm not a geologist. I'm not an engineer, which most environmental consultants are going to fall somewhere in the science industry.
Oh.
I don't. I have a degree in business. And I used to run call centers for Citibank and phone companies. And so if you had a question on your credit card statement, you called the credit card company.
Right.
I managed those people.
Wow.
Right. So I ran call centers for a long time.
Very different.
Extremely different. And I made a rapid move. I was living in Las Vegas at the time working for Citibank. And I made a rapid move from Las Vegas to Los Angeles because I was in a relationship with a woman. And I literally over a weekend, I moved from Las Vegas to LA, quit my job, took on a family, 2 kids, the whole kit and caboodle, and I needed a job. And so the plan was always to get a temporary job long enough to run, until I got a call center gig in California. And so I called a buddy of mine that was in environmental consulting, and I said, I just need a job. Just, few months, I need to make money. He said, I got a job for you, but it sucks. And I said, okay. So I literally started digging holes to collect environmental samples.
Oh, okay.
So I went from running, call centers with 200 and 300 people to literally out digging holes.
And in clean, nice, air-conditioned environments.
Exactly.
Being covered in dirt, I imagine.
And contaminated dirt at that, So, yeah. And so I went out there and I started doing it and found out not only did I enjoy it, but I'm actually relatively good at it. And so, I did that for 6 months, and then it turned into a year, and then it turned into 2 years. And then eventually I went, well, I guess this is a career for me. And I went back to school and got some training in geology and engineering and chemistry and started learning. I didn't get my degrees, but, really what I did is learned enough to know what I don't know and when to bring in, the experts.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how I got started. And then I moved from doing the field work to coming in and writing reports to, project management, and then eventually business development, where I was going out and looking for those opportunities.
Yeah.
And, just built it from there.
Seeing all the different parts of the industry, essentially, is what you got to do.
And I've worked in just about every part of the environmental consulting industry that you can, from, like you say, going out and digging holes and setting wells and collecting soil and groundwater samples to, the 3D modeling and how to do that, and understanding the back end and your piece of it, because I can't help you if I don't understand what you're doing.
Right.
So that's where my business degree comes in and helps, because I understand what you're trying to do when you're investing in a business or investing in a property, right? And I think that's really a differentiator for PEC compared to other environmental consulting firms.
Yeah.
You're usually dealing, with a geologist or an engineer, and they became an environmental an engineer or geologist for a reason,
Right.
right? They don't necessarily understand the business side of it.
Right.
I bring that aspect where I can say, okay, you've got an environmental issue that you need to deal with, but you also have constraints on resources, usually time and money.
Yeah.
Right? How do we balance those two? I used to tell
Makes you unique.
Yeah, and I used to tell people, my wife hates it when I say this, but I used to say I help my clients contaminate to the maximum extent of the law, right? This is how far you can go without getting into trouble. My wife hates it when I say that. She's far more green than I am. But now the way I put it is, we use limited resources to do the most good. That's really what we do. Because sometimes it makes sense to spend $10 million to clean up a problem like that fuel terminal in Sacramento.
Right.
In other cases, that other $8 million can be diverted to clean up something else, because this doesn't need to be cleaned up. It's not hurting anybody. It's not going to hurt anybody over the next 200 years. So we're going to continue to monitor it. I still work on that project, but we just go out once a year and take samples to make sure that it's doing what we said it was going to do.
Right.
And then, we move on down the road. We don't just ignore it.
Right.
But by taking that money that was set aside to do one thing, that can now be diverted into something else that maybe needs to be cleaned up right now because it's creating an immediate danger to life and health.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really what we do. We try to understand what all stakeholders, and get from A to B in the most efficient manner possible.
Yeah. And so in these transactions, you're not like representing any one party.
Yeah, we're usually representing one side or the other, the buyer or the seller.
Okay.
And I think that's something that a lot of people need to really understand. In fact, that was one of the questions that came up in this 1031 exchange transaction that I've been working on the last couple of weeks.
Right.
One of their questions was, well, the seller says they're going to go get a phase one, and they're going to go, address all this stuff. And I tell everybody the same thing. There's good consultants, there's bad consultants, right? There's good lawyers, there's bad lawyers, right? A lot of people are doing the right thing no matter what, no matter who they're working for. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are basically saying, hey, this is the guy that's paying my bill. I'm going to make this look the way he wants this to look, right? So you have to be very careful whether you're on the buy side or the sell side, and who do you trust, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times you need to have somebody in your corner regardless of whether they're doing the work or not.
Right.
So in this particular case, what we settled on is the seller is going to bring in their own environmental consultant, and they're going to do the work on their end. I'm going to represent the buyer and essentially just look over their shoulder, review all their work, make sure they're doing what they're doing is reasonable and necessary.
Fantastic.
And filling in the gaps. And that way everybody's kind of happy. The seller feels like they have control over costs, which is their primary concern. Meanwhile, my buyer, my client is trustworthy and trusts what's going on.
Right.
And as it turns out, I happen to know this consultant that the seller's using. Right. I know who they are and I know their history. The environmental world is a very small world. It's very easy to develop a good or a bad reputation. Well, I should say it's easy to develop a bad reputation. Keeping a good reputation is a lot more difficult. But because I know so many people in the industry, I can look at somebody and go, let's pay a little more attention to this guy. Or no, I know this guy, he does good work. Right. You're going to be good to go. So those are the kinds of things that I bring to the table.
No, and that's very helpful. With this transaction that I'm looking at, they had an environmental consultation done. And so I would love to have you, just help us with looking over it, interpret it for us, help us make sense of it. They've given us their interpretation, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, knowing that they are looking out for their best interest.
Exactly. And you want to look out for your best interest. So yeah, the first thing I would say is, you give me the address, you send me any data that you have.
Yeah.
And I do my initial look, right? And I'll usually spend anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending on how big the project is. And then that gives me the opportunity to do a few things. One, I can call out red flags and say, hey, you need to think about this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
But it also allows me to give you the best possible proposal on what I think you should spend in order to cover yourself. So if I review their reports and I say, okay, they missed, these 3 things, you need to go after these. Or they called these out as potential problems, but they haven't addressed them yet. So this is what I think you need to do. This is what I think it's going to cost. And I try to give you kind of a front to back estimate, right? So I do I do worst case scenario, best case scenario, most likely scenario. And then I give you a high, low, medium budget in there. So you can really get granular and decide what's in your best interest, right? If you're looking at a transaction that has a potential profit of, let's say, $250,000, you don't want to spend $400,000, right? So what I do is I try to give you the best roadmap available and how long it's going to take and how much money you're going to need to spend and what your potential liabilities are on the back end. And if I can get in ahead of time and tell you that, then you can make proper decisions, right?
Yeah.
And, I've had some where I just told people, run. Don't buy this property, run. Well, this is going to be a problem, right? And there are others like this 1031 exchange where we sat down and we figured out, okay, if you don't get this done by October 14th, you've got a $250,000 tax liability.
Right.
If you do get it done, but you don't get the environmental done because you don't have time, you got, your worst case scenario is a $200,000 liability. Well, worst case scenario, you break even, great.
Right.
Right. But if I were to come back and say, you got a couple $1 million worth of potential liability here, maybe this isn't the deal. Maybe it's better to just take that $250,000 hit and walk away.
Right.
But you can't make that decision if you don't have the information.
Yeah. Have to be informed.
Right.
Yeah.
And the earlier you get me involved, the better off you are. So we have what we call the rule of 3 in consulting. You can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it good. And when you're dealing with PEC, good isn't optional, right? You only get 2 of the 3, right? You can't have it good, fast, and cheap, right? You can have it fast and cheap, which means you're not going to get good. That's not an option for us.
Right.
You can have it fast, but it's not going to be cheap. Or you can have it cheap, but I need time.
Right.
Right. So in the interest of keeping costs low, the earlier you get me involved, the better off you are.
Okay.
Because I've done phase 1s in as little as 24 hours.
Wow.
But the cost is exorbitant because I have to basically put everybody else to the side, and then I have to start paying overtime, and I have to start paying, fees to regulatory agencies to expedite things.
Right.
And, so whereas I might be able to do an initial phase 1 environmental site assessment for $2,300, $2,400, $2,500, right? If I have 30 days to get it done. Whereas if I only have 24 hours to get it done, you might be spending 10, 12, 15 grand.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. Because it's just, it's all a matter of supply and demand and how fast can I make things happen.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Or we can give you an answer, but it may not be a complete answer. There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of, if this, then that.
Right.
So the more time I have, the better information you're going to get for less money.
More of a big picture.
Exactly.
Yeah. Without.
Exactly. But I can't tell you the number of times I get a call, hey, our deal is going to close in a week and the lender's asking for a phase 1.
Oh, wow.
They always do, right?
Wow.
If you're getting it financed, most banks
Yeah.
are going to require a phase 1.
Oh, yeah.
And so I get that phone call a lot. And then I go, well, okay, yeah, we can get it done for you, but it's going to be $5,000. Oh, well, he said he'll do it for $3,000. I said, yeah, but he's going to do it in 30 days. And, line goes silent on the other end. They're like, well, yeah, like, well, if you want it now, if you called me 30 days ago, I'd have done it for the same price or better.
Right.
But if you wait till the last minute, this is what we deal with.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we're very good at is anticipating what you're going to need, even if you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And I can tell you, hey, you got a lender involved, they're going to want this, right? If you're doing it with hard money or private money, maybe you can skip that, but do you really want to?
Right.
Right. And the answer to that, by the way, is no.
Because you want to be as informed as possible.
You need to be as
even if
informed
it's
as possible.
Not required.
And the biggest thing that people don't understand is the environmental laws in the U.S. If you buy a contaminated property, you own the liability.
Yeah.
So if you buy a site that used to be a gas station and it leaked and it got into groundwater, the government can come back and say, hey, you own this property. even though you didn't contaminate it,
Uh-huh.
you have to clean it up,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So getting me involved early, I can get you protections against that. There are certain liability protections built into the law,
Oh,
but you have to meet certain criteria,
right.
right? And if you don't meet that criteria, you're not protected,
Right.
right?
And as investors, most of us, like you said, we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm super grateful to even have met you, and the wealth of knowledge that you are, what you've taught me already just in that space. I can see that it's really valuable to have your company, anybody like you guys, come in and show us, because we're just looking at, like you said, the business. We're looking at the numbers.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's a lot of stuff that you won't see just looking at a property, like the gentleman in LA that bought this, abandoned restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It's an abandoned restaurant. How bad could it be? Well, it can be pretty bad.
Yeah. But in
It can go sideways quick,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have the time or the money to get you to that, to get through all of that, ultimately he's probably going to make money on the property. But the difference is he was counting on 3 to 6 months to flip it and make a little bit of money. Now he's going to have to hold it for 3 to 5 years and invest, hundreds of thousands of dollars more money to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And as we all know, time is money. So the more money, the more time you have on a project, the less profit you're going to make usually.
Yeah. And that money's tied up for all that time too.
And
That
like,
gives you leveraging it anywhere.
costs, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now we can still, that's the other thing that I try to tell people. Just because you've got an environmental issue on a property doesn't mean it's a bad deal.
Right.
It just means the deal needs to change a little bit to make it an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. So for instance, the project in Sacramento where it was originally estimated at $10 million to assess and clean up. Right. Well, if you bring in the right consultant that knows how to leverage the technology and can get you to that, maybe we can make some money on that.
Right.
Right. And maybe we can
Price adjustment.
do some price adjustments and help you work out, reducing the price. Or maybe we put, if there's a lot of uncertainty, we structure the deal so there's an escrow holdback, so you've got more time to get stuff done.
Yeah.
You can write into the purchase the purchase contract, hey, we're going to take this liability, we're not going to take this liability. There's a lot of projects where the seller has retained all the environmental liability. So I sell the property to the new owner is going to move forward, and anything from this date forward they take on, but anything before that, they stay involved.
And it's contractually written that way.
Exactly. Now,
Oh, wow, that's great.
but you have to be careful because the government doesn't care about your contracts,
Oh.
right? The government could care less,
Mhm.
right? You can say, hey, you know what? I bought this from Texaco Oil, and Texaco said they were going to keep the liability. And the government's going to say, hey, that's wonderful, great. We're holding you responsible. If you want to go make them pay for it, get a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. And that's where we bring our expertise to bear. Now, I'm not an attorney. Didn't play one on TV, and I didn't stay at Holiday Inn Express last night. So, but what I do know is I know a lot of environmental attorneys. So if you need an environmental attorney and you call me and say, hey, this is what I've got, I'll tell you, you need to bring somebody like this in.
Have the resource, yeah.
And have that resource. And, that way you don't have to have the Rolodex. You just, you need to know me. I have the Rolodex.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And no sense in reinventing the wheel. Right.
Yeah.
Let me do what I do. I've seen almost everything that you can see in the last 25 years. So,
Yeah.
let me leverage my knowledge and make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we've had the opportunity to have you on here and just learn more, even more. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I'm learning more.
I'm happy to be here and happy to be involved in deal makers, and I see the network that you have, and I think that we can do a lot of great stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I really appreciate you bringing us in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. For our viewers who want to get in contact with you, what's the best way? You can share whatever you want to share. Phone number.
So you can reach me directly. My number is 213-379-6067. I'm still carrying my LA number. I'm probably always going to carry that number because I've had it for 30 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Or you can reach out to me at pgilchrist@pecemail.org. Or you can go to our website, which is proenvironmentalconsultants.com.
Yes, wonderful. And can also find information about you through our website and our Facebook pages. You can look up your name, Phil Gilchrist, or
Professional environmental consultants.
that.
Yep.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you again for being here with me today, Phil.
Happy to be here.
Yes. And we'll have fun later on tonight at our event.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. That's it for today's episode. Until next time.